Thanks very much. I'll try my best anyways and see how I go. Thanks very much for having me, and thank everyone at Premier Publishing again for the great event. So I'm just going to give an overview on the Agri sector and then kind of lead into a bit of the R&D tax credits and the knowledge development box. And I'll just give you a couple little guidelines and steps. So this is the agenda for today and the talk, so a brief intro to Mazars, going all the way down through the sector, the credits, and to give you some examples, and at the end we can just briefly look at the knowledge development box. Is this okay, is it? Oh yeah, sorry. So just in relation to Mazars, we're a global company, we're in about 77 different countries, about 17,000 people. We represent over 100 companies in the Fortune 500, and we've 1.25 billion turnover. In Ireland, we've got 2 offices, in Galway and in Dublin, and I operate from the Dublin office, and we're about number 7th in the country. The company itself deals in a number of different sectors, ranging from pharma, biotech, medtech, and what I'm just going to talk today is on the food and drink. So I'm just going to bring you back. This is our farm at home. This is where I spent a lot of my time when I was younger, and I still spend a good bit of my time. What I want to kind of show here is getting back to the root, the whole idea of the food, the agriculture, and the sector. Reality is, when we're looking at this picture, the only income we can get in this farm is from the wool, which is absolutely a waste of time. It costs more money to shear the sheep, or if we sell the actual lambs themselves. It's not, you rely on grants and everything else. So it's kind of this from the ground up to create into what is Ireland's probably largest sector. When we're looking at it, we can see 50,000 people employed, 128,000 farming families. Kuwait's turnover about 26 billion and exports 10.8. So you're probably well aware of all of these sectors anyways. So looking at it from manufacturing point of view, we can see that 60% of all the sales effectively leads into about 60 euros getting back into the economy again from the actual sector. Now, have you read this document, or I suppose anyone involved in the food industry is aware of the strategies that are actually out there in terms of the food-wise? So what I've done, I picked out just a couple of the trends, and I suppose the key thing to this was it was prepared before Brexit, and there's a number of different challenges that are actually there. But the trends or the challenges that are there, it's quite large. And I've traditionally come from medtech, pharma sectors, and when we're seeing growth like this, it is a huge challenge to get across. So increases from 85% to 19 billion, produced up to 13 billion of increase in value, increase the value of production for 65%, and trying to create 23,000 jobs. Sorry, I don't know, it's just a bit odd, is it? So is it working? It's okay, sorry. So what I've done, I looked at the actual SWOT analysis and just seen from the document itself, because this is what we're going to need to look at to grow the sector, especially in relation to Brexit. We need to be able to see where we can delve into those areas to reach those numbers and get beyond those figures. So we're all aware of the strengths, the opportunities, the threats, which now includes the Brexit side. Now, in terms of the weaknesses, the one thing, and I suppose is the core focus of today's presentation, is looking at the idea of the R&D and the investment associated with it. So within the document itself, it notes that there's 2 particular concerns: the translating research into commercial products and the capacity within the sector, both the producer and the company level, particular to the SMEs, to absorb more research and innovation. So one of the ways I suppose the government has addressed this a number of years ago is the idea of R&D tax credits, and now leading on I suppose the knowledge development box. So this is kind of where I'm going to focus a bit on the talk and give you a bit more of an idea if you've never used them before. This is all new to myself. Prior to this I was an academic for I don't know many years. So coming into this idea of claiming money back for companies, it's a good way of stimulating innovation and growth and research within the economy. So the credit allows you to get 25% of your qualifying expenditure. I'll talk a bit more about that as we're going along. It's based on qualifying activities. Now you can offset it against your corporation tax, or you can use it as a cash refund, and I'll give you an example on that. But the key is you need to set out to achieve a scientific or technological advancement. Bringing it all together, I kind of like numbers and figures. This is information I gathered from a number of different sources to show you where the R&D tax credit originally came in about 2003, so the first claims was in 2004. And as you can see, there was about 70 million paid out in the credits for 75 companies. In the space of 10 years, that's gone up to over 1,500 companies, and there's just shy of $500 million paid out in terms of the credit. And business expenditure has gone up to 2.1 billion. So there's been a huge take in this, and there's a huge growth and opportunities within the sector. So there's a big drive, and I'll talk a little bit more about that sector. So if we just take a case study example, and we take a small company that's setting out on their journey developing maybe a new food product, in this case maybe a coating. So if this dye, if this dye has been developed to detect when food goes off, so it changes colour of the food. So we'll just take something random like that. So if the company is counting year end, it's 5 staff members, 3 of which involved in R&D. It's engaged in R&D activities in Ireland, and it has not paid any corporation tax. So the company a year is spending about 350,000, 240,000 of which is on R&D. So to look at claiming the credit, you have to ask yourself a number of different questions. Now the key thing about the credit is a process, material, device, product, service, system does not become an advance in science or technology because science or technology is used. Just because you're using machines that are scientific or different types of instrument, that doesn't always give you the right to claim the credit. You have to be able to see where you're advancing the science. So you need to ask yourself a couple of questions. Has it been done before? No, that's a good sign. If it has, you need to see where you're doing it differently or why your competitors might be doing it or what you're going to change it. Has it been published? No. It's public domain? No. Did you know this is an important one. Did you know the outcomes before you start? No. If you knew what the answer was going to be, then you can forget about it because that's not part of the uncertainties. And the key thing is these uncertainties, and I'll talk a bit more about that later on. I must be able to advance the science or technology, and from now on, in a lot of ways, you need to be able to show that there's different methods, your systematic methods of use. So if we just quickly look in terms of the accounts, if you have your 240,000 expenditure, you can claim 60,000 back on that qualifying. So that's 20,000 a year, it's split up a third each year. So assuming each year you're keeping the same levels of R&D, you can see the amount of cash coming back into your company. So it's a good way of kind of generating more income and sustainability within your organisation. So the credit is there to innovate your company, to reduce the overall payroll costs, provide budget, allow you to invest in R&D. So I'm just going to kind of bring it back a little bit and look in terms of the research itself. So a lot of people think, the R&D, that we may not be actually doing research, and they focus a lot on the R, but in real cases it's the D in Ireland anyways. And research itself is broad, especially in terms of the development side. So I tried to build up this model where if we look at in Ireland, in most cases it's mainly the D that takes place and a small bit of R. And this is where a lot of the claims are taking place. So it's within this range we're entitled to make the claims. We can't claim for either or these sections, and so we need to run from there. So looking over a whole product life cycle, we can see we need to operate within these regions. So I'll just kind of keep going. There's 2 tests you need to qualify for the R&D activity. One is the science test, one is the accountancy test. So the science test is based on a number of different areas. One is you must be able to advance the overall state of science. 2, the life cycle model. You need to be able to decide what type of research you're doing. There needs to be scientific or technological advancement with uncertainties. You can claim up until all of these uncertainties have been met. Secondly is the accountancy test. The accountancy test is built on the same principles, but you must be a trading company. So there's a number of different outcomes. One is revenue, pay up the claim. 2, they may come back and claim, look at the accounts. 3, they can send you a 23-letter question which enables you to answer all the questions in terms of the R&D. 4 and 5, they can do an audit. And the reason I bring up this figure is, again, you can see that there was the large increase. As of January this year, revenue now are hiring experts to come in to assess the claims themselves, maybe into your companies. So it's very important to have your documentation in place. So what they're looking for is timesheets, any sort of documentation, lab books, anything at all that you can prove that there's been R&D taking place. So I'll just quickly move on to the knowledge box. The knowledge box, the guidelines were just announced in in August of this year. Effectively, it's if you can show that it's just a reduction in your tax of 50% from 12.5 to 6.25 on income derived from intellectual property or protected capital. It's based on this equation, but what I'm just trying to just show you is here that the knowledge development box indirectly feeds back into your R&D tax credits. And we're happy to talk more and more about this. We're in stand, we're 128 later on. So if you need any information, we can run through this. We're just conscious of time. So I'd just like to thank you all for giving me your time today. And I'll be happy to ask any questions, or if you need to talk to me, I'm just down in the stand. Thank you.